All right, today we're doing solutions to systems of equations. This may sound familiar. We actually did this in freshman year all that long ago, except we're going to have a little more complicated equations to deal with because you're in Algebra 2. So if you remember what solutions of systems of equations meant, we're going to look at graphs and we're going to see where they cross. Where they cross is the solution to those equations. And really that's what the business world is all about. The business world is, the business operates in some kind of equation, and then you want to operate at the maximum point of this equation to your operating costs. That's called systems analysis. All right, so we'll start off with the basics today. We're going to start off with this equation right here, actually this system. And when I look at this system, the first thing I want to realize is that this is a circle and this is a line. You should be able to always look at a graph and in your mind get an idea of the shape. It's a circle because both the x and the y are squared. This is a line because nothing's squared. And remember, by squaring or cubing graphs is how we make them curve. So a circle and a line can cross twice, once, and yes, they may not cross at all, which means there is no solution to this equation. So as anything in math, we like to get a visual. So we're going to solve these both graphically and algebraically, and that's what you're going to have to do in the homework. But I will always encourage you to always get a graphic look at whatever you're doing. Use the calculator. We bought $100 worth of calculators for each person, so use them. Okay, when you solve graphically, the first thing you have to do is solve for y. Well, the line is really easy to solve for y. All we have to do is move the 10 over and move the y over, and we've got y equals 3x minus 10. Solving the circle for y, it's a little trickier, but we can do it. All right. X squared plus y squared equals 20. I'm going to move that x squared over. And to get the y isolated, we have to take the square root. So we have y equals the square root of 20 minus x squared. Okay, I'm going to go to my handy dandy online graphing calculator, and I'm going to type in these equations. Okay, so the first one was y equals 3x minus 10. And there it is. Okay, I'm going to type in my circle now. Wait, do you see what I'm seeing? I'm only seeing half a circle. Oh yeah, I remember now. Remember when we did the quadratic formula? You don't have to write this down, but remember how it's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac? That's right. Whenever we do a square root, we have to look at the positive values of a square root and the negative values of a square root. So when we go to graph this, we have to enter it in twice. Once where we look at the positive values of the circle, and once where we look at the negative values of the circle. All right, so I'm going to come back here. I'm going to type that, and then in front, I'm going to stick in a negative. And there is our lovely picture. We've got our circle, and we've got our line. And we see there are two answers. And the lovely thing about it is I can come here and I can just press, and I can see what my answers are. Now, when you do your homework tonight, you're obviously going to have to translate that onto a piece of graph paper. But the beauty is that when you do it on your graphing calculator, you can go to table and you can get your points so that you can draw your circle perfect and your line perfect. Now remember, when you do your graph, label everything. You're going to have to label your axes, and you're going to have to label your lines. and then obviously label your answers. Algebraically, well, now that we know what our answers are, we can do it algebraically also. Always, we're going to start off solving for y. Because then I can do, if you remember from 9th grade, substitution. I don't know why that keeps coming up, sorry. If we remember, we took this line and we solved it for y equals 3x minus 10. So that means every time I see the variable y, I can replace it with 3x minus 10. So I go into my circle, and I see over here on my circle, I see x squared. That's great, we can leave x squared. Plus, but here's that y. So every time I see a y, I am going to replace it with 3x minus 10. Now comes the Algebra 1 math. Remember, to square a binomial quickly, we square the first, we square the last, we multiply these two terms together to get negative 30, and then we double it. So there, I squared that binomial quickly. And now I can keep going by adding together like terms. So x squared plus 9x squared gets me 10x squared minus 60. And we bring this 20 over to get me 80. That's right. Every time I see an x squared, I've got a factor. So I'm going to continue factoring by taking out the greatest common factor, which in this case happens to be 10. And that leaves me with x squared minus 6x plus 8. Sum, give me two numbers that multiply to 8 and add together to 6, 4 and 2. But wow, you see another reason I tell you to graph first? Because you already knew the answer to this. They already told you the x value was 4. And the x value here was 2. I could have gone backwards. Remember we did this the other day? I could have said, okay, if my x value is 4, it must have come from the factor x minus 4. And if my x value is 2, it must have come from the factor x minus 2. But these are just your x values. This circle and line cross in 2 points. So I have to come back here and I have to figure out what my y value is. But looky way up here, how do I find my y value? My y value is obtained by tripling my x value and minusing 10. All right. My y value is obtained by tripling my x value and minusing 10. Oh, I get it. So when my x value is 4, my y value is 2. Check. And I can do the same thing over here. My y value is obtained by tripling my x value and minusing 10. So when my x value is 2, my y value is negative 4. Check. So algebraically, the only other thing I'd have to do is conveniently state my answers. So they cross at the point 4, 2, and they cross at the point negative 2, 4. And those would be my answers that I would box off nice and lovely on my regions. Okay, we have one more quick problem here, but I want to do this on your graphing calculator because you're not going to have this lovely Desmos graphing calculator to use on the regions, as beautiful as it is. So, these are already solved for y. Joy! If I graph them on my beautiful Desmos, this is what I get for a picture. I see that this was a parabola, and this was a line. And they cross in 2 points. So those are my lovely 2 points crossing. Let's look at this picture on your graphing calculator. Okay, so we're going to go to the y equals, and we're going to type these in. Go ahead, type them in, and get a picture. The only problem with yours is those lovely points do not come up when you try and press on that calculator. As much as you can, they don't. However, to get those crossing points on your calculator, this is what you do. You're going to hit the second function key and then the trace key. And up will come this lovely window. And if you can see highlighted is intersection. That's what we want to do. We want to find out where these intersect. The next thing will come up is this screen. It's going to ask you, is this your first curve? Well, what are they talking about? They're talking about right up here. They're saying, is x squared plus 2x the first curve you would like to look at? Well, you're going to press enter, but before you press enter, you're going to use this key right here and move your cursor so that it's over one point of intersection. Okay, so move that cursor over. Now press enter. The next window that should come up is this one. It's asking you now, what's your second curve? Is this your second curve? And you don't have to worry about moving your cursor because it's already there. You're just going to press enter again. The next window that comes up is going to say guess. It's asking you, would you like to guess at the final answer? No. I don't want to guess at the final answer. That's why I got this $100 calculator right here. Go on, tell me what the answer is. So all you have to do is press enter, and voila, up comes your answer. There's your answer right down there. 1, 3. Now to get the second intersection, you're going to have to do that all over again, starting right back here from the beginning. You have to do a second function trace. You will come over here, except now you'll move your cursor to the second position, press your enter twice again, and up will come your last intersection. All right, we're going to go over that again in class tomorrow, so make sure you have your calculators. Have a good day. Bye.